Recording. So, Abdurrahman, what is our class timing, by the way? 4:30, yes. And daily I have to remind you individually and then you join. And even sometime I have to remind your parents that ask him to join. So please, when we have a fixed class timing, if there is any change, I inform well in advance. Okay? We are going to start trigonometry. So trigonometry is from three Greek letters, tri, goni, and metron. Tri stands for three, goni for angles, and metron for the measurement. It means we actually deal with the shape that has three angles. And which shape has three angles? That is the triangle. Okay? Before we go to the triangles and the measurements that we have to take inside that one, we need to discuss the types of the triangles. So it will be easy for you to understand the trigonometry. Okay? So types of triangles. First of all, we can make the types of the triangle based on sides and based on angles. Okay. First, I will talk the types of the triangle based on sides. The first type is equilateral triangle. In equilateral triangle, all sides are equal. All three sides are equal. We call it equilateral triangle. If all three sides are equal, so all angle, in a triangle, sum of all angles is always 180 degree. That before we start, you have to remember sum of all three angles in the triangle is always equal to 180 degree. So you have to remember it because we have to use it so many times. So if all the three sides are equal, so each angle in the equilateral triangle is 60 degree. Always that you have to remember, okay? Second type is the isosceles triangle. Isosceles triangle is a triangle in which two sides are equal. What do we call it? Isosceles triangle. Now, in isosceles triangle, for example, if these two sides are equal, so these angles we say base angle. These angles will be called as the base angle. This is also base angle, okay? Base angle are also equal in them. Mean whatever will be this, if this is x, this will also be x. Okay, mean they will be same. For example, if you say these two sides are equal, then these angle will be the base angle. So these angle will be equal. And if, for example, you say like these two sides are equal, so then these are the base angles. Okay, these both will be the base angles. It depends on which two sides are equal. So base angle in the isosceles triangle are always equal. Okay, then it comes the scalene triangle. Scalene triangle is such a triangle which has no equal sides. No equal sides. If no equal side, it means none of the angle will be equal. We call it scalene triangle. Okay. So based on the sides, these are the triangles. We give them the names. Okay. Then based on the angles, before I proceed, if an angle, we give the name to the angle like acute angle. Acute angle is an angle less than 90 degree. Any angle less than 90 degree is acute angle. Okay. Obtuse angle is an angle more than 90 but less than 180. Like between 90 and 180, we call it the obtuse angle. Okay. It's more than 90 but less than 180. We call it the obtuse angle. And the angle next is the reflex angle. Reflex angle is such an angle which is more than 180 but less than 170. Then 360. Okay. More than 180 but less than 360. Like between 180 and 360, we call it the reflex angle. Usually, for example, acute angle looks like this one. This is acute angle. Obtuse angle will be like this one because it will be more than 90 degree. And the reflex angle will be like this one. For example, if you say this angle, okay, and there is called a straight angle. A straight line angle, it is an angle of 180 degree. Okay, 180, like straight angle with the line. This angle is 180 degree always. Then right angle. What is right angle? Right angle is equal to 90 degree. Right angle is always 90 degree. It's equal to 90 degree. Okay. These are some type. Already you have to study them in the early stage, but you should know them before we reach understand the trigonometry. So on that basis, if a triangle, if I say acute triangle, what is an acute triangle? A triangle with all angles, a triangle with all angles less than 90 degree. For example, your equilateral triangle is acute triangle. Okay. Obtuse triangle, we say a triangle with one angle is obtuse in that. Mean a triangle with one angle more than 90 degree. And remember, in a triangle, there can be only one angle more than 90 degree. It's not possible to have two angle more than 90 degree. Okay. For example, let's say I'm making this triangle. If I would say that this angle is uh, 45, this angle is 60. Let's both. I don't know whether this is uh, accurate angle drawing or not, but this one and let's say this one is 75. So together, all angles are less than 90 degrees, so it is acute. In obtuse, it will be one angle will be more than 90 degree. So let's say this one is 110, this one is 30. Okay, so and this one is 40 because total should be 180. So this is obtuse angle, obtuse triangle. We call. So all the angles are only one angle is more than 90, other will be less than 90. Then it comes a right triangle. A right triangle is a triangle in which one angle is 90 degree. Okay, like this one is the right triangle. This is 90 degree angle. So we call it right triangle. Okay. So that is a very basic thing that you already know. Most of you already know about that. There is nothing new in that. But next, when we are going to start our trigonometry, one thing now every one of you have to feed in your mind because the point I'm going to say you is the key point in the trigonometry. In your trigonometry, if we have to deal with two types, like right angle. If you see, these are non-right. This is the right angle, yes. Any triangle not having a right angle is a non-right triangle. So, if you have a right triangle, you will always use Pythagoras theorem. Now, what is Pythagoras theorem? Don't worry, I'll let you know. Okay, to use the Pythagoras theorem, or we call it Su Ka to our rule. Now, what is that? I will let you know. Don't worry about that, okay? But before we start, you should know if it is this, what we will do. If it is this, what we will do. So one by one, we are going to learn the rules. Second thing, if the triangle is not right triangle, what if the triangle is not right triangle? If it is not right triangle, you will use sine rule or cosine rule. Any one of them you have to use. Hold on a second. So that is the first point everybody should feed in the mind. If we will have a right triangle, mean a triangle with 90-degree, we will use the Pythagoras theorem or Shu-Ka-Twa. What is that? I will let you know. And if the triangle is not right triangle, we will use either sine rules or cosine rules. Okay, mean any triangle other than right, we will go with them. Now, let's first start with the right triangle. Let's say you have a right triangle. In right triangle, the 90-degree angle is a right angle. So we give the name to the sides. The side that is opposite of the right triangle, right angle, 90-degree angle, we call it the hypotenuse. Shortly, I just write HYP for that one, hypotenuse. Okay? Yes, yes, sure. Copy it. Okay, copy it or not? Okay, so yes, I'm gonna start that. When I just started, so actually if the Rahman said that I want to copy, so I give the time to him. In a right triangle, the side that is opposite to the right angle, we call it hypotenuse. Okay, hypotenuse. Okay. Now, the other two sides are given the name. For example, let's say you are considering this angle, like you are considering this angle, then this will be the opposite and this will be the adjacent. Okay? But if you are considering this angle, like your angle under consideration is this one, then this will be opposite, because opposite and adjacent depends on the angle. And then this is with the angle, so it means this will be the adjacent. Okay? Let's say, for example, I'm going to take a triangle here, which is a right triangle. Now, this is a right triangle. Let's say, no problem, doesn't matter wherever it is, in which orientation it is. If this is the right angle, okay? If this is the right angle, so being the right angle, what would I say? The side opposite to the right angle, what do we call it? Let me give it name A, B, and C. Okay? The side that is opposite to this one. It means what is the hypotenuse? This one is the hypotenuse. Okay? Hypotenuse. It's actually a Greek letter, so some letters are silent, so we always like that hypotenuse. Now, let's say I'm considering angle C. So what will be the opposite? This will be the opposite. Okay, for opposite shortly I will write OP. For hypotenuse next onward I will just use HYP. Okay, and now as this angle we are considering, so this one is the adjacent. For adjacent I will write this. Okay, because this is very important. As I told you, the moment you will listen the right triangle, what should come in your mind? Pythagoras theorem or Sukatwa. So obviously to know these two rules, you should be able to identify the sides of the right triangle. Okay. So first I'm going for the Pythagoras theorem. The first thing I'm going for, it is the Pythagoras theorem. Now what is the Pythagoras theorem? Let's write the Pythagoras theorem. This is the right angle. So this one is the hypotenuse. Let's say I'm considering this angle. Let's say this angle. So this is opposite and this one is the adjacent. Pythagoras theorem you can use to find unknown side in the right triangle. Okay. Pythagoras theorem we use to find the unknown sides in the right triangle. How do we do that? The Pythagoras theorem says the hypotenuse is always equal to the square root of opposite squares. Some teacher take it in a different way, but this way I'm using it will be the easiest way and you will never forget it. Okay, opposite square plus adjacent squares. Like if you have to find the hypotenuse, you will find by this way. If you have to find the adjacent, uh, Abdurrahman, yes, we do call, but I will not use these words. You know, if any Indian or Pakistani teacher will explain you, usually they use the word perpendicular and base. But I'm using this terminologies that will help you a lot, you will see. So skip the perpendicular from your mind. Because you know, if you are saying perpendicular, it can be this, it can be this. So it's always very confusing. So I ask the student to remember them in this way. Okay. Adjacent will be equal to, adjacent will be equal to, like if you have to find any side other than the hypotenuse, so you know what will you do? It will be the hypotenuse square minus opposite square. Like if you have to find this, then you will minus. In the same way, if you have to find the opposite, it will be the hypotenuse square minus the adjacent square. These are, we call them, these rules are the Pythagoras theorem. So Pythagoras theorem we use to find unknown side in right triangle. Okay, in a right triangle. Okay, So Pythagoras theorem we use to find an unknown side in the right triangle. Like this is the right triangle, so if you have to find an unknown side, you will immediately think about the Pythagoras theorem. In triangle has a very wonderful property. And what is that wonderful property? That if you know two things in the triangle, third one you can find. Okay? And in total, if you know three things, because in triangle total are six things, three angle, three sides. If you know three things, the other three you can find. If you know two sides, third you can find. Okay? Got it or not? So finding the unknown side in the right angle triangle, Pythagoras theorem immediately you should think about. Okay? I hope so that is when we will use so further factors and it will be easy. But till now in this one there should be no confusion at all. Okay? Next, if I have a right angle triangle, suppose I have a right angle triangle. If this is a right angle triangle, and I'm gonna give it name A, B, C, and a right angle is at an angle A. Okay. Now, let's say I'm considering this angle. I'm considering this angle. This angle is B. This is the hypotenuse, yes. Then this will be adjacent, and opposite is this one. Su, ka, chua. The first letter S is for the sign of the angle you are using. For example, I'm using the angle B, so I will say sine of B will be equal to O for opposite, H for hypotenuse, mean divided by hypotenuse. So always sine of the angle will be equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Now C stand for cos. So cos of angle will be equal to A for adjacent, H for hypotenuse. So adjacent divided by the hypotenuse. Twa is the tangent of the angle. It is opposite over adjacent. Okay. Take the screenshot of this one. Let's say I'm gonna take a right angle triangle. Okay. I'm gonna take a right angle triangle, and in this right angle triangle, this is P, Q, and R. Okay. And I'm considering, I will say, let's say this angle is 30 degree. So can anybody tell me which side is the hypotenuse? Which side is the hypotenuse? RQ, very good. So this is the hypotenuse, yes? Okay, which side is the adjacent? Which side is the adjacent? PQ, good. So this is adjacent. And which side is the opposite? That is obviously the opposite. No. Hmm. Let's say this side is, I'm taking this one, 13. Okay. And this side is 12. Now, if I ask you find PQ, so as it is right angle triangle, two things should come in your mind immediately. Sukatwa or Pythagoras theorem. As you are finding an unknown side, when the other two sides you know, to use the Pythagoras theorem. What will be Pythagoras theorem for adjacent? Adjacent is always equal to the hypotenuse square minus the opposite square. Yes, this I told you here. Where is that? This one, the Pythagoras theorem. Yes. So we are gonna use that. As you have to find the adjacent, so you will use this. If you have to find opposite, you will use this. If you have to find the hypotenuse, you will use this. Okay? So I will say it means what is adjacent is PQ. So PQ is equal to this. What is the hypotenuse? 13. 13 square minus 12 square. So you will get 160, 144, 25 square root. Answer is 5. So PQ is 5. PQ is going to be 5. Now if I ask you take sine B. B is 30 actually, okay? What will be sine B by the way? Sine is SU. Sine is SU. Mean the opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite over hypotenuse. Okay? Forget here for a while the value of the angle. Okay? I will come to the value later. First, what is the sine B? Opposite over hypotenuse. And what is opposite? 12. Hypotenuse is 13. Mean 12 over 13. But if I ask you, sorry, not B, Q. Here the letter is Q. I'm sorry. If I take sine R, if you're taking sine R, this is opposite now. And this is adjacent now. Okay? So what will be sine R? Sine is always opposite over hypotenuse. So it will be in that case